Thread 2. You will do these works, and even greater. If thread 1 raises eyebrows, thread 2 breaks the ceiling. Because whatever else people debate about Jesus, history, theology, symbolism, myth, there's one line that refuses to shrink into metaphor. It's direct, it's blunt, and the text doesn't cushion it. Whoever believes in me will do the works that I do, and even greater works than these. John 14:12. Not some of you, not special individuals, not after you've been spiritually certified, whoever. If this line is even half literal, then the entire modern framing of Jesus collapses into a completely different shape. And the more you zoom out, the more this pattern solidifies. It's astonishing how rarely this verse is quoted outside sermons about spiritual potential, the kind of sermons that make the promise sound safe. But the original statement isn't safe. It's disruptive. It puts responsibility back on the listener. It flips the hierarchy. It reframes the entire narrative from, look at what he can do, to look at what you are apparently supposed to be capable of. And if that sounds uncomfortable, good, it should be. Because in the earliest Christian communities, before doctrine, before creeds, this wasn't a metaphor. It was taken at face value. Here's something else to consider. If Jesus intended only a tiny inner group to inherit miracle abilities, you'd expect clear instructions, qualifications, rituals, tests, but none of that appears. It doesn't say, only if you're holy enough, only if you've renounced every pleasure, only if you've mastered a sacred discipline, only if you tithe correctly. He says, whoever. And later, these signs will also follow those who believe. Follow, as in, this is the natural outcome. The text treats miracle capability not as rare exception, but as the standard baseline for human beings. It's an idea so contradictory to the modern story that we almost instinctively flatten it, but the text refuses to flatten. One of the oddest details in the Gospels is that the disciples, the people closest to Jesus, are shocked when he performs acts they later perform themselves. For example, they're terrified when he calms a storm. They're speechless when he multiplies food. They panic when he walks on water. And later, they do versions of the same things. It's almost like Jesus keeps demonstrating the same principle over and over. This isn't about me. This is about the nature of reality and your relationship to it. If the disciples weren't special, and Jesus insists anyone can do the same, then what exactly is being described here? There's a moment people rarely reflect on. Jesus doesn't just say greater works are possible. He seems to expect them. It's not a compliment. It's not a metaphor. It's a prediction. Something like, you think this is about me? You haven't even begun to understand your own capacity. This is the subtle tension running beneath the entire narrative. If the central figure doesn't treat himself as the limit, why do we? What if the entire story is inverted? What if Jesus is not the exception, but the demonstration? The mainstream interpretation today tends to soften the statement, oh, he meant spiritual works. Oh, he meant greater influence, not in kind. Oh, he meant the building of the church. All valid readings, but none of them appear in the text itself. The text doesn't say, you'll do morally greater works, or you'll build institutions. It says, the works I do, which, whether you believe them or not, are described as literal acts. It's only later tradition that reframed greater works into something safer, more controllable, easier to file under inspiration. But if we set the later interpretation aside for just a moment and take the words at face value, a different picture begins to form, a wilder one, a more human one. It's the picture that leads directly into thread 3. Because if Jesus actually meant what he said, then the rest of the story starts reading like an instruction manual we forgot how to interpret.